we just understood that functions can have inverse of themselves. So first thing is we need to recall the domain and range of trigonometric function. Because we are talking about inverse trigonometric function, we need to recall about the functions itself, what we learned from before. So this is a slide or a PDF that we had to use before in 11th grade. So this is what we are looking at. So this is your function, the domain and the range. So sine can have an input of any real number, and the output would be between -1 and 1 including them. Cos will have the same behavior. Tan will have all the real numbers as its input excluding odd multiples of pi by 2, and it can map to any number. While cosec can have all the real numbers excluding n pi, so on and so forth. So the point is, these are your domain and range. So let me show this in a different manner, because reading through it will not make sense. So this is a sine function. I can move across the sine function, right, with any given input. So the input has to do with your x-axis and your output has to do with your y-axis. So we can see that the output will not pass your -1 and 1. So your range is between 1 and -1. Okay, so all of this will be between those, is it not? While your cos, it also behaves in a similar manner. So you can give any input, but the output will remain between 1 and -1. While tan, I cannot give an input of pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, -3 pi by 2, okay, and minus pi by 2, so on and so forth. Basically odd multiple of pi by 2. I can give any input other than the odd multiple of pi by 2. It will map to all the real numbers, not just -1 and 1. It will map to all the real numbers. Okay, so you guys have to understand this and have to keep this in mind. Now, cot also behaves in a similar manner, but in this case, it is not defined, or it can't be defined in positions of, what is this? Even multiple of pi by 2. Right? So basically, let me show this again. So we have this to be 0 to pi by 2. Basically, even multiple, all of this will get cancelled. So basically, any multiple of pi. When I talk about even multiple of pi by 2, 2 and 2 will get cancelled. So we will end up with n pi. Right? You can see here 2 and 2 will get cancelled over here. Here too, this is basically 0. Here too, -2 and 2 will get cancelled, so on and so forth. So basically it is, you can remember it as even multiple of pi by 2, not an issue. Or if you want to be, as per your books, it is n pi. So it's not defined for this particular set of values, but it is defined for everything else in the real number. And the range is also set of real numbers. Now let's move on to cosec and sec. Again, all of this is something that is available. You guys should be making use of it. So the cosec will have all the inputs other than 2 pi by 2, -2 pi by 2, 0 pi by 2. Basically again it is n pi. It's not defined for n pi. That is even multiple of pi by 2. Now let's look at the range. Range, it is not falling between 1 and -1. Those are missing. Can you see that? Please ignore this set of lines. It's just because of the code. And I needed to have such a line, such a graph wherein I can slide the value and show you guys all of this. So because of all of those constraints, I have this set of lines. So you can ignore that. So you just are looking at U-shaped values. U-shaped graph. Okay. So ignoring all of this, you can see that the function of cosec will not fall between 1 to -1. So you can see that it's been represented over here also. Of course, -1 and 1 is part of your answer. So you can see over here. So this is 1. Right? At this end, you'll get -1. And that would be your -1. Right? So those are included, but between -1 and 1, things are not included. Same thing with cosec. So you can see the same thing. 1 and -1 are not included. But we have different set of input values that are skipping over here. So basically it is odd multiple of pi by 2. So it is odd multiple of pi by 2. So for tan and sec, it is odd multiple of pi by 2. Cosec and cot, it is even multiple of pi by 2, which will cancel and it will become multiple of n pi, or multiple of pi basically. Remember, n over here is integer. So this is must for you guys to recall, and please make use of this, make your observation, get familiar with this, because the entire chapter has to do with this. If you guys are not familiar with this, you won't be able to understand anything from this chapter. So take a day or two, watch this video again, say after a day gap, memorize this in 2-3 days, and then start the chapter again. Just don't jump into the chapter. There is some pre-requirement, and the pre-requirement being this: if you're not familiar with this table and all of these graphs, you guys have to get familiar and only then start the chapter.